Hey everybody, JCB here at the Awesomeness. You're watching the Awesomeness YouTube channel. Hey guys, welcome back. As promised, today brings us day 2 of my trip to Sequoia National Park. Just to recap, if you haven't seen part 1, you can do so by clicking the link at the end of this video. I took this trip back in August of last year, and recently the park just reopened after being closed for COVID-19. The park itself is open, but most of the facilities are still shut down for safety. Anyway, that said, without any further ado, let's jump right in to day 2. We started day 2 by getting up, getting dressed, and driving right to the park. This time on our way, we stopped to admire the creek down below, which just looked really pretty. We then stopped at Tunnel Rock, which you caught a glimpse of in part 1, and decided to grab a photo. The one thing that's kind of annoying about national parks like this is that some people have no sense of courtesy or manners, so you can be clearly waiting for a couple to finish taking their Instagram photo, clearly on standby, waiting for your turn to go take a photo, and out of nowhere, some big group of people, completely oblivious to the existence of other human beings, will just walk right up and not even waiting for the other couple to finish taking their photo, and they'll just start doing their own thing without any regard for the line of people waiting patiently to take their turn, like civilized humans. And then when that happens, I can't help but wish that the giant boulder, which has clearly been resting in that same space for thousands of years, would suddenly fall and crush their empty skulls. Anyway, we were trying to take this photo of Andrew on top of the rock when these idiots decided they were going to just cut in and start doing their own thing, and basically they ended up photobombing each other. But this is nothing a little Photoshop can't fix. Let's see here, we just do a little this, do a little that. Perfect. When we arrived at Crystal Cave, I needed to use the restroom, and to my surprise, it was the exact same setup as the restroom they had at the Amboy Crater. Look for that video if you want more government toilet footage, plus some cool vistas. While we waited for our turn to go down into the cave, this nice lady with a bullhorn laid down the law about what you can and cannot bring with you. She said the area was very active with wildlife, including bears, which we actually saw roaming the wilderness on our drive in.
Sir, did you have a question?
Would you say it's a very active area?
Ew. No. I mean, I would, because it's like a triple park, because we have a lot of...
So as I explained in my Silver Dollar City videos, there is a really terrible disease that is killing America's bats called white nose syndrome. Fortunately, it hasn't spread very far in the US, and to keep it that way, some safety procedures have been put into place. For instance, you're not supposed to wear anything you may have worn inside of any other cave, as the spores of this disease can survive on the clothing and backpacks of people despite multiple washes for well over a year. And because there's no way for you to know if you've stepped somewhere that someone else who was inside of an infected cave has also stepped, they have you bleach the bottom of your shoes on this pad before you even enter the pathway that goes toward the cave. So the hike down is about a half an hour or so. There are no restrooms on the trail, nor in or around the cave. So you have to make sure that you empty your bladder before you head out. Remember, it's like a half hour down to the entrance of the cave, and then you're in the cave for about an hour or so, followed by what I think was about 45 minutes or an hour walk back up the hill. And you'll see why when we get there. We're walking the trail to Crystal Cave. The walk down is amazing, with lots of bridges, waterfalls, and streams everywhere. When you get to the mouth of the cave, the guide will give you one more safety rundown, making sure nobody has anything that isn't allowed, and begin the tour with some information about how the cave was discovered. They then open this big gate that looks kind of like a metal spider web, and you follow the guide inside. The entire cave tour is guided, so there's no real chance of taking a wrong turn or getting lost. It's fairly easy to traverse as well, although it's by no means ADA accessible. However, there are artificial lights highlighting interesting sights to be seen. There are handrails to keep you on smooth paved paths and stop you from falling into any of the many holes through which water freely flows. There are a lot of areas that are dimly lit, and there's some difficult steps to make, so I don't know if it's appropriate for children of all ages. There's also a lot of things you definitely should not touch, which again, makes it difficult for me to recommend this for children of all ages. Although it was a lot of fun for everybody in our group who went through this tour. Just like with Marvel Cave, I was very surprised by how cool the temperature was inside the cave when compared to the temperature outside in the wilderness. It was a pretty warm day, but you would never know that down here. I would say the walk up and down, to and from the cave itself is harder than walking through the actual cave. If you are at all claustrophobic though, you may have a hard time, especially in moments where you find yourself walking in a long line of people like you're in a heavily themed Disneyland ride queue.
Oh, it does look like a jalapeno. It also looks like Woody Woodpecker.
Oh, if you're like just his head, you mean?
Yeah, just his head.
Metapod.
Another thing to keep in mind is that the cave might actually be too cold for some people, so make sure you bring some kind of sweater or something. And also, the constant sound of running water is relentless, so if you're not cool with that, you might want to reconsider. The walk back up the trail is tedious because it's uphill, and because the path is so narrow that anytime a large group of people walking the opposite way come by, you have to stop and stand off to the side as best you can while they pass. Unless you're an asshole, then you just try to plow your way through a herd of 50 plus people who all get super annoyed, something we experienced on our way down. However, the walk back up does give you another chance to gaze at the amazing beauty of the area. When we got to the top, I noticed this sign that I had missed at the beginning of the trek. Gotta love Office fans. Anyway, after that, we packed up for the day, drove into town, and had dinner at the Black Bear Diner. And then we hit the road for our long drive home. I would definitely recommend going to Sequoia National Park if you get the chance. I would probably wait though until the whole thing reopens. It was an amazing experience that I won't soon forget. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you can be alerted every time I upload a video. I just got back from my trip to Dollywood. We had a great time and I plan on posting that video really soon. So until next time, keep being awesome. So it makes me sad to say it, but I don't think we're going to be able to visit a new Six Flags park this year. Instead, we're going to Dollywood. That's right, the world famous theme park of America's sweetheart, Dolly Parton. It's open for business, and I found some cheap flights out to Knoxville and back. So we're heading to Dollywood. Make sure you leave a comment